Hello YouTube types, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing the rear brakes on my Ford Mondeo. It's a 2 litre TDCi. You'll have already seen on another video that I've done the fronts, so now we're going to have a look at doing the pads on the back. So I've got my tools all assembled, got my socket set, I've got that, which I don't need to worry about too much, drill driver. Torque wrench, putting the wheels back on, thread lock, pair of pliers. That's just an old wrench that I use for taking the wheel off because it's broken, but it gives you a nice bit of leverage. Flathead screwdriver, wee little wire brush, brake cleaner, box of gloves, copper grease and regular grease, soft face mallet, topper, wood, rubber, whatever, and a Glaswegian screwdriver and a bungee cord. Right, as I think I've said before, if you've seen the video for the front, this is not a good surface to try and work on a car on. You can't get stability on your jack, and if you drop anything you're going to lose it. So I put the car on an old tarpaulin and I've jacked it up. I've got a piece of board fastened to 2 scaffold boards with my trolley jack, so they provide ample spread of the load and keep the jack stable. Ideally you want an active stand as well, but I haven't got one. Well, I have got one, but there's nowhere to really put it with this driveway and the underside of the car. So what I'm going to do is my usual thing of putting the spare wheel or the wheel that's coming off under the sill, so if there is a problem and the jack fails, it's going to land on the wheel, it's only going to drop an inch or so. Hopefully I shouldn't be getting underneath the car anyway for this particular job. So, back up. Car's jacked up, my nuts are cracked, as they say. Just spin them off because I'm lazy, so I'm using this. Except that now it's got stuck in there. There we go. Need to get some new wheel nuts from Ford at some time, because a bit of a mix and match on here, types of wheel stud, wheel nut rather. Okay, wheel off. That's going underneath the sill, as I said. Okay, so here we've got the caliper for the pads and the carrier. So what we're going to do is just going to whiz these off so that we can take the carrier off itself. Now, I, as you do, watched a video on YouTube for doing this, and he said they were 13mm nuts. These are actually 12. So I don't know whether his had some dirt on that was making it bigger, or his is a slightly different model. He said it was a TDCi, same as this, but they are definitely 12, which also makes them slightly confusingly different to the front ones, which were 13, I think, if I remember correctly. Right, where are we? Make sure he's on the back. If you've got a load of crud on here, it can be difficult to get the socket on. It could appear that you need a larger one than you really do, in which case you risk stripping the threads. I'm using a Teng socket set here, which is a 6-point socket, which I personally prefer. I think they give it, under most circumstances, give a better grip than the 12-point. But opinions vary. You can get 12 points or 6-point sockets in most sort of applications. So that's that one, those off. Now, what you can then do is separate this from the carrier, or from the caliper. This is the carrier, this is the caliper. You can separate this and just do the pads that way. You don't actually have to take this piece off. However, what I found on the other side was trying to get the pad back in on the back was a bit of a nightmare with these still in place on the disc. So I am actually going to take the whole thing off. So for that, there's another 2 bolts to come off, and for all the faffing about that is needed trying to get that back one on, it's, to be honest, well worthwhile just simply taking these off. Now these are in fact a 13, whereas on the front they were a 15. They were pretty fearsomely tight on the other side. Again, on that video he said that they were both 13s. But as I say, they're not. Okay, he's not budging, so we're going to have to exercise a bit of brute force. Get the long bar out. Give that a try. Get him on there. Not a huge amount of space here. There we go. He's cracked. That's him. This is the thing about working on cars, is I think the job's going to be really quick, and then one thing comes along, it buggers you up. Oh, what you made. Oh, stuff on me. There we go. Bolt somewhere safe. Hopefully they're not going to get lost. Get this one. There we go. Right. Just get the fellow off. If you won't budge, that's when we get the old rubber hammer on the job. Very good. Scene 2. Put the wheel nuts back on, just hold the disc in place. Right, schoolboy error, take the handbrake off. Of course, make sure your car is adequately chocked before you do that. And then, that little shit will actually come off, your pads will fall out. Oh yeah, yeah, they definitely needed doing. They definitely needed doing. rubber boot on that cylinder doesn't look too clever. So at some stage that's probably going to have to be replaced. Get your bungee, stick it through there, stick it up through there, and drop it back down. Oh, there we go. Right. So that then just supports that piston assembly, so we're not overstretching the pipes, brake pipes, that's the word I was looking for. Right, let's have a wee look see at this then and see what we're going to do with this. So the old pads have already fell out and they are pretty shagged. That's down to the metal. Just in the nick of time, I think. The disc looks to have survived okay, the disc is not too bad. But yeah. Interesting, this side is a lot worse than the other side, if we compare the two. Which suggests that we've got a bit of unequal brake pressure on there. So we're going to clean this up with the old brush and a bit of brake fluid cleaner. And then we're going to put the new calipers back in. We're going to take these springs out. This set came with new springs, so we can just ping those out. Apparently not all sets come with springs, so don't throw those away until you've checked if your set has got springs in it. But they just ping out like that. Come out nice and easy, a little bit more tricky to get back in, but we'll cover that. Right, I'm going to clean this up. Just for the sake of comparison, I've got here the pads from the other side of the vehicle, which are really not too bad. A little bit odd because it's kind of worn in a bit of a wedge and they're not terribly equal, but not too bad. You can compare that to the pad we've just taken off from this side of the vehicle. That's not good. So there's obviously a bit of an imbalance in braking there, so we'll have to have a wee gander at that. Right, these are the replacement springs. They are actually handed. You can see there's a wee little flangey bit there. That goes on the outside of the caliper housing. So we're going to have a little bit of the old copper grease. Just to help everything slippity slidey a little bit. And then pop the old spring into there. And you can imagine this is far easier with this off the vehicle. Trying to get to that back one was a proper pain in the nads, frankly. Right, that's one on. We've got like a little clip piece which just needs bending back slightly to squeeze it on. Fiddly. Put one side on first and then the other. That's got it. And it seats into a little knobbly bit. You can see just there. So the clip seats into that. Okay. Do the other side. Get your flange on the outside. Always have your flange on the outside. Now the brake pads, I'm going to change my glove because I don't want to risk getting copper grease on there. Actually no, I'm not, because I'm going to copper grease these, aren't I? Right, get that back on again. So, brake pads out, just being careful not to get copper grease on them. And then just a wee dab of grease on the ends, like so. Not on that face because that's disc side, and we don't want to risk getting grease on the discs because grease and disc and brakes don't really go that well together. Okay, Make sure we've got everything orientated right. Okay, that's about right. So that one, these two go into there. Okay. Oh, cock. Cock. Oh, you bastard. Well, that was a battle getting it in, and now the bastard's come back out. Of course, when they're in operation, these are held in by the disc and brakes and so. Right, that's it. Okay. So you can see why this would be a right pain in the nads on the vehicle. You've got to kind of push that clip out of the way to get him into there. That's for one side, but then the other side is much more tricky. There we go, that's that one in. Okay, the side. There we go. So it does actually seem to be a wee bit easier going from the inside, if you like. Just push the clip out of the way, and then it's easier to get clear of this piece here. That's what causes you the problem, it would seem. Okay, so that's him. Right, so we're ready to go back on. But what we're going to do first of all, these pieces here, I'm going to ping them out. Oops, daisy. Ah, fucking shoes are coming out again. Fucking hell. Right, ping these out. And that will rubbery piece off. So that's the piston from in there. It's quite dry, it's supposed to be greased, and that may be the reason why we're a lot more worn on one side than the other. So let's give him a good clean up. And then we don't want copper grease on this, because that will grind and wear. So we're going to use a standard high temperature LM type grease for these. And we just splodge them in the tin, get a dollop on the end, and pop them back into there. You get a little bit of spurt out, it's not too much of a drama. Itself. You just push that in and then the rubber cap will go back over, like so. Okay, other side. Again, nice and dry, which is not what we want. So a bit of spray, a rag, really nice and clean. It's not particularly worn at all, so that's okay. Dollop of grease and slide him back in, and just wipe off any excess from around about, so I've got grease everywhere. Okay, so that's that. Let's pop this back into place then. Going to lightly put the bolts in for now, just to hold that in place. Okay, so that's just got the pad holder just sort of loosely attached, just to hold it in place. So what we've got to do now is reattach the piston. And you see it's sticking out a hell of a long way. That's because it's used up all that free bit on the debris. So on the pad, these winding, not pushing like normal. So I had to get this brake winding set. But it's less than 30 quid off eBay. It's not an expensive piece of kit. I might only use it once, but still, what I've saved on labour on the job will more than pay for this. So slightly confusing. So you've got a left hand and a right hand thread on these. And it's labelled in the box left hand and right hand. Slightly confusingly, this is the left hand side of the car, so we need the one that's labelled right hand. Get that wee little thing over the end. Stick that on the end there. That one's probably a bit small, let's see. Let's go for that one. Not going to fit in there. See in a minute. Okay, right. He slides down over there. Ooh, can't get over. It slots in behind there, so I need to wind it in a little bit. It's got too much on it. Okay. I've taken the cap off of the brake reservoir so that I'm not fighting against pressure on there. Get the little knobbly bits lined up in your wee holes on your piston. Get that so that's adjusted up tight, so I've got the bar in behind it, and then I should be able to so that's wound all the way back in now. Take the bungee off so you can see, hopefully, that is now wound back in. That was a hell of a long way out. I mean, that must have been a good inch. So I had to wind that back. So let's put him onto here, get him all mounted up and stuff. Push those in. There we go, that's the main there. Right, the kit comes with new bolts, so we don't need to thread lock those because they've already got it on the thread. So they just go into there. It's just a case of lining him up with the oil. That's him. Put the bottom one in as well. Now, these little rubbery gator things have got a usually flip there. As you tighten these up, you can start to twist that, so you just get hold of that or use a pair of heavy duty pliers on it to hold it as you do it up, because you don't want to twist that gator too much because you'll tear it if you do. Right, where's my little jobby? Here's my little 12mm. Here he is. See how now that's starting to turn it. Just stick my thumb in there when I can turn it until that's tight. That's him. Again. There we go, that's him. Right. So, we need to fix the whole unit back onto the disc now. So I've got the bottom bolt here, the dreaded bottom bolt. Bit of thread lock on that, because they don't come with a, the kit doesn't come with a new set of those. So we're going to have to reuse the old ones. They look in pretty decent condition. So blob of thread lock. And get him into place. He is a proper arse to get in, that one. Let's try using an extension. Just pull him in. There we go, we got it, we got it, we got it, got it, got it. Right. And I'm sure there's a proper torque for these, but I don't know what it is. I haven't got a book, so we'll do FT. It's thread locked, not going anywhere. Right. Then we just need to redo the top one. Got my thread lock on it. That was just to locate the unit, if you remember. It goes back together a bit easier than it came apart, which is unusual for me because usually I'm very good at taking things apart, but I struggle a bit to put them back together again. This is going back together quite nicely at the moment. God, blimey, there's really not much thread lock in this thing. It's a right con, that is. 25 mils. Right, stick him in there. He's down a chunter. Okay, nice and tight. That's it, and we'll just check the other two as well. Make sure they're good and tight. What our Germans say, good night. Good and tight. Terrible German. I can't speak German. My German is limited to "For you, the war is over." And what is your name? Don't tell him, Pike. There we go. Okay. And that is pretty much the job done. It pays to have a little look around when you're doing these sort of things. I've got a brake cable here that's hanging down, which I'm not terribly keen on. So I'm just going to cable tie that back up on something solid and immovable, so it doesn't snag on anything. Have a check with your shock absorbers, your spring, make sure they're okay. The springs, especially on the front, are prone to breakage. Check you've got no leaks anywhere, check that pistons aren't leaking. Everything looks tickety-boo. So all that remains is to put the wheel back on and we're sorted. So I hope that helps. I didn't get a quote for this particular job, but I reckon when the parts were £54, I had to buy the tool set, so I've spent probably 80 or 90 quid. I reckon you'd have been looking certainly well north of £300 to get a garage to do this. I know I got a quote from Mercedes CLK that I used to have that was well over £400 and the parts were 160, so I did it myself and saved myself 300 odd quid. It's not a difficult job. There's fiddly bits, but you know, it's pretty straightforward really. So yeah, save yourself some money.